Hello and welcome, this is my submission video for ESA Summer 2022 for Tobari in the Night of Curious Moon, normal and percent. This game was best described as a mix of Mario, Kirby and anime in a Steam review. It sounds funny, but it definitely rings true. The Mario part comes from the fact that we're generally heading right and going into the goal, stomping on enemies. And the Kirby part comes from stealing enemies' powers, just like I did now. Hitting the yellow mice and getting the broom power up. The game starts off super easy, almost like almost easier than Road 1 of Mario. But its difficulty ramps up fairly quickly, especially after Road 3. Each road has 6 or 7 levels. And the big problem people could find playing Tobari is because the movement is super slippery, the momentum is weird and awkward. I just now picked up one of the unVODS powers in the game, which gives me speed and a lot of bounce power, which allows me to damage boost through the spikes and not partake in the pretty slow autoscroller. Drop the spell medals right before the end of a level, because you finish a level with a spell in your inventory. That's unfortunate. If you finish a level with a spell in your inventory, there is a bonus roulette of coins and gold, which just wastes time. So generally the goal is to end levels, with some exceptions, without any spells. Right now I just visited the shop to buy some extra health, because the face plant into this boss for damage. This is the fastest way to kill it, but we need to visit the shop for some extra health to kill it. Because the broom is mostly a traversal spell, but can deal damage on contact, which also deals damage to me. So, the 5th level of Road 1 is just basic movement, not really any power abuse. And we hit our first auto-scroller. The one negative with this game is that at the start, within the first 10 minutes, there's like 2 1-minute auto-scrollers, which kinda makes it horrible to reset for. And the first few auto-scrollers also aren't difficult at all. So, other aspects of Tobari, we have lives, but those don't matter. If you run out of lives, you can just press continue and you'll start at the start of a level. So there's no risk of hitting a point where you can't continue in this game. There's always something to back you up. There's almost no glitches, which makes it kind of accessible. There are a few, and they will be used in 3 levels total, if I remember correctly right now. So there's a wide variety of powers, and the auto-scroller is almost over, thankfully. Right now I'm just mashing up to enter the door as soon as I am able to. And since I don't have any spells, the level just ends like this. Now, it's the final level of Road 1. I'm going to be grabbing Thunder because there will be a boss fight, and that's super useful. And I'm also going to finally make use of the ability to hold 2 spells and grab double jump, which just makes all the traversal easier and makes me not have to wait for these platforms to go back up. So double jump there. Yeah, always a road taps off with a boss fight, and this one's pretty RNG wise. We just saw literally the worst attack, and the second worst attack a boss can do. You want the boss to stay in one place like this. To just be able to DPS the boss, there's just a lot of mashing, so it's kinda hard to speak. I just grabbed 1 more HP because being at 1 HP is dangerous since the boss is almost dead. Funny thing about bosses, you can get hit after you kill it. Well, my analog stick certainly didn't agree to where I'm going. But World 2 has some more interesting gameplay than to just hold right basically. Well, with the exception of this level because I'm literally just holding right. This is hold right V level. Goal of that level is to just drop the boss bow as late as possible. Starting with 2-2. We're going to enter another auto-scroller actually. Yeah, that's not a very good start for this game. Some light damage boosts. These blue bunnies. I can sometimes decide to completely turn around. Also, one fact I haven't mentioned. All of the enemies are bunnies here. In one way, shape or form, except for the bosses. Because bunnies, moon... These are technically bunnies I think, but they look more like mice. Good news, after this auto-scroller there's not going to be an auto-scroller for a little while. Well, there technically will be, but there's auto-scroller skips thankfully. And now we just quietly go around and enter the door, fix the auto-scroller and finish the level. Turn 2-3 is a very short level. I have to make the timings to have enemies in the correct spot to be able to jump over. And if you're super good, you are able to attack the 2 electric mice. Pikachu. To be able to take them without any damage. Being at 2 health here is kinda spooky. Because of stupid stuff like this. But that's not a big deal. If I would go deathless in this run, it would crush the world record completely. Now I didn't walk into the ice mage's attack, so this is much simpler, and I don't need to be careful. 2-4 is good luck to not get hit in that location. The second hit was completely stupid. This is the first time, and the only time, we're going to be using the charge spell. You stand in charge for a little while to deal more damage. Doesn't sound very speedrunnery, but we get to this mid-world boss, and in classic fashion, when the boss is moving backward, we can hit the boss twice with piercing bullets. So we just do that twice and hit him once more on the face. And that's the only use of charge spell in this run. This is the first level we're going to be using double jump extensively. We try and avoid a lot of enemies. That is not a masterclass of what I wanted to show, but hey. One thing with the double jump spell, it only refreshes when you hit the ground. It's going to be a little relevant later on in the level. Every spell has a different refresh rate, and for double jump it is hitting the ground. Or anything ground like. Okay, don't kill yourself. So the main reason we want to double jump in this level is to be able to go around the back and hit the goal. And I just had just enough time to drop the spell because I hit the ground. Drop the spell since I hit the ground. Because you cannot drop a spell if it hasn't refreshed. So this is the auto-scroller skip I was talking about, and I threaded the needle. Of course. I guess this is a good showcase of what could also go wrong in your run. Basically, this auto-scroller skip is pretty easy. It's really hard to get in between the blocks, like I just did on my first attempt. Jump off and the enemies just line up to hit the next platform and make this. Being 1 HP down is kind of annoying, have to be a bit more careful. That's fine. Grab another double jump. This is completely intended use of double jump this time around. When will I hit that checkpoint? Grab the health as well, just for safety. Here we grab one of the most damaging spells, Spark, for the upcoming boss. This is the end of World 2. This time we don't care about extra health, because this boss doesn't deal contact damage, just from its own spells. And as always, bosses are kinda RNG depending on what attack we're going to do. For this attack I had to, for example, walk closer to the boss, because there's no attack in the right where the boss is, there's just an attack around the boss. That's World 2. Welcome to World 3, the desert world. This was super lucky. Usually when going through that section you get hit because rocks are RNG. And this is not the best showcase of this level ever, but that's fine. A very short level, jumping on the lizard. This whole traversal easier. Here we have to wait a little bit because we need to jump on the little bunny to make the gap. Three, 2 is fairly easy level if you don't mess up your own setups, like I just did. This is what was supposed to happen. You grab magical arrow for the first time. Literally it's just an arrow that pierces some enemies. This damage was unavoidable unless you want to lose time. And the quicksand is super annoying because you need to jump out of it really fast, otherwise you can just be stuck there. And preemptively dropping the arrow spell and dying to a lizard. Lovely. So, this time, this is probably going to be a better walkthrough of what the level is supposed to look like. Actually jumped out of quicksand quicker. I grabbed the back of health that I had lying around in a block. Quicksand is really unpredictable, and it's precisely why this road is annoying. And it's why I'm avoiding quicksand even if I risk taking damage over there. Free is going to show the other power of the ball spell, which is breaking the stone blocks. This level centers around just efficient movement and not getting hit. You want to be on the ground when starting to use the ball, and unequip and re-equip it real quickly. And stand in the middle here to achieve ultimate block breakage. I'm constantly turning the spell on and off to get the correct bounces, like seen here. I just bounced in the correct direction I wanted. Not like this here. And this is the fun thing. enemies don't disappear instantly when you hit the goal. You can still get hit after you hit the goal. I just did a tiny bit too short of a jump, that's why I got hit. But 1 HP is kinda monk-ass here, not bland. We're at 0 lives, but that's completely fine. Even if you die completely, you just need to press continue. The wind spell is basically jump higher spell, and slow faller. Fall slower. Since I got hit twice, I just got a backup HP right over there. And we finally fall down the quicksand as it is necessary. Constantly switching from no spell to wind spell. This adds that tiny bit more height and makes us clear that pillar and float to the end of the goal level. The level, not the end of the goal. As always, I drop a spell right before the end of the level to avoid a roulette. Start here, hit the switch. I didn't expect to hit twice, that's why I went silent. To actually pay attention to the game for a little bit. And I still died. The alternative way is to bounce into to enter that area is to bounce in those bunnies, but you're going to take damage. I need the rock spell to be able to break rocks. Stone blocks? I'm not sure what to call them. These yellow blocks, orangish blocks that you can see. Since I'm at full HP, I can afford to face tank this section. What? I'm throwing some blocks to destroy this enemy, which I unfortunately missed. Since I'm at 0 lives, 1 HP, I'm actually playing sort of careful, ignoring a bit of speed. These cactuses actually are immortal, you cannot kill them. And there's a lot of enemies with different spells over here. But we don't need any of them, we just use the rock we picked up at the start to clear the path to the goal down. So stage 6, road 3. If you time this correctly, you can just slide past all the enemies without taking any damage, but it's not a big deal because there's an HP right in the block over there. You jump over the Pikachu bunnies, take some damage, and get the ball spell. Because bouncing here is literally the fastest way through this section, and it helps in the next one over. Because with ball we move slightly faster, that's good. Drop it right before the goal, and we're good. Now another boss stage, 3-7. It also introduces us to a slow down spell, which is necessary to progress in this level. It's, as the name implies, slows everything down. But if you take damage, the time starts going again. Without the slowdown spell, you wouldn't be able to make the timer. So in this section, we have the opposite spell of speed up. Makes you move faster, which you also need to be able to cross that bridge without it disappearing, because it appears only for a limited amount of time. Okay, I completely messed up the cycle, so this is a bit awkward. Going to damage tank that spikes, because there's a shop later on. And we're going to enter the boss, which is an auto-scroller, because of course it is. So this auto-scroller, the only kind of death really possible is by falling into a pit, but that really shouldn't happen either. There's not a lot of those either. To start with, we just grab all the spell we need, which is Thunder for damage dealing and Ice for, like, mob control, I suppose. So this boss fight consists of 3 mini-boss battles, which are all pretty easy and require just a bit of mashing. And the auto-scroll commences over. Ice helps here because you can kill the enemies and eliminate fires. It's really not necessary, but it helps. One thing with the ice spell is the ice you create using the spell is not slippery, it's like a normal block. But normal ice, which will be in the ice road, which is the next one, is slippery, so it's kind of weird how we create non-slippery ice if you hit enemies with the ice spell. So this, our mini-boss, just goes left and right like the previous one. And we just kinda bonk them and get past. This is one of the few levels where I don't need to worry about dropping the spells before the level ends, as is the case with most boss. Swap the spell, so this boss fight is literally stand below the boss and mash Thunder because Thunder comes from above. And that's World 3. World 4, as I mentioned, is the Ice World, and Ice is super annoying because normal Tobari physics are already super slippery, just makes it all the more slippery. It's the first world where it's super easy to die. You also need to jump a bit, gain momentum, because gaining momentum on slippery ground in this game is, I won't say impossible, but just impractical. The World 4 one basically just introduces us to ice mechanics. There's not much to say about this one. This level is an auto-scroller. It also has a hidden exit. Might as well talk about that. This game has a collectible, a moon shard in every level. They are hidden usually in pretty obscure spots, because I don't know why. Whoops, did not mean to buy 2 of Wind, but money is literally not tight in this game, so it literally doesn't matter. So, to cut the auto-scroller short, there will be an off-screen exit towards one of those moon shards, but it is weirdly precise to get it off-screen, even though I know roughly where it is. Not seeing where I'm going makes it an inconsistent strat, but it doesn't cost any time to attempt it, because while we are attempting, we're still waiting for the auto-scroller to go. The reason you need Wind for this skip is because normal bounces you just bounce a little bit, but with Wind bounces you bounce a lot. And just for show, here's one of the moon shards. Generally in a run I would just go down here and hit the checkpoint for the most useless auto-scroller. We will need to wait for that. The exit's right over there, but we don't have nearly enough height, so I just kinda need to wait for the platforms. This will be a very good point to read some donations, because literally nothing is going on. The most unnecessary part of this level, of this game, is this part in the level. We just snooze Fiesta towards the goal. This is the most atrocious scroller. But what can you do? Just jump a bit to avoid the fire and wait for it to go. Drop wind preemptively because we'll need to drop it eventually. And the most useless checkpoint because the goal is right over here. Go figure why the checkpoint is there. And if you collect a moon shard in a level, the level becomes yellow instead of purple. So this is one of the more interesting levels because we are going to be using glitch, infinite double jump. That's why I grabbed airbound or double jump. But the glitch also requires another spell, which is the reason I grabbed the convenient free spell. So for this spell, we constantly drop our other spell, and that allows us to infinitely refresh our double jump, allowing me to clear the wall, which you normally shouldn't be able to. I heard you like auto-scrollers. Yes, there's one more. This one is actually pretty short-ish. And there's actually some stuff to do to speed it up. As you can see on the right, there's a platform that I completely missed. But you can make it. That's basically the reason why I have the estimate, or why I will have the estimate when I submit at 1 hour 10 to account for my dumb devs trying to show off. And here we have a game over. Which is kinda silly, but is also a good spot since we weren't at the checkpoint. Yeah, this run is definitely not the representative of what could go well. This is a representative of what could go wrong. Here we go. Deactivate the other platform and start dealing with these enemies. There was an off-screen enemy that throws rocks that I killed with thunder because it comes from above, so you can kill enemies you can't see. It comes from the top of the level. And then that solitary ice block there was a bear bunny that throws rocks and is scary. One cute thing is when you use the spell, your character keeps the animation until you do something else. Since I'm playing solo, I'm just hitting checkpoints in this case that I normally wouldn't hit. This is a bit more involved auto-scroller part since you had to do some fairly quick platforming if you're not prepared for it. It can be dangerous. I'm just going to take some damage because there's 2 hearts right in front of me. And now it's going to be a World 4 mini-boss. It would be super annoying without thunder because it's way up there and it's hard to find the timing to properly hit it. And there's wind that tries to push you off. It's also annoying. But with thunder you are able to kill it pretty quickly. Here's another auto-scroller part to end this level. There's a lot of spikes below the platform, so we just jump on the 3 available enemies to avoid any peril and arrive at the goal. If you keep riding the elevator, you might think you might find the moon shard, but no, you're just going to die. Sadly. I think there's a 1-up. So this is one of those they call dungeon levels, where you have to traverse left and right around the level, collecting various spells to be able to get through all the environmental hazards. So I just had to get a frost spell over there to clear the fire. And the reason I also need to get the frost spell is to activate this switch that is outside my reach. I need to go here to get the stun spell that I will need a bit later on. So this level is all interconnected. Didn't expect to take 2 damage, but it is fine. There's 2 HP below here. The reason I'm clearing all of these blocks over here is because I will need to get back up. I will no longer need ice, that's the reason I dropped it. And we are going down to use the wind thing I showed in the auto-scroller earlier. That if you jump on trampolines with wind, you jump way higher. Now we have everything we need to finish the level, so we're just trying to jump as optimally as possible to reach the goal and end one of these dungeon levels. 4-6 is the jankiest level in this game. Well, it's the jank snowball level, not because of how it's going right now. This is the non-janky part of the level, if you can believe it. So this level centers around rolling a snowball to get where you want to. So this is fine. Snowball activates things like a spell. You push it near the edge and wait for a platform. But as you can see, when I was standing on the snowball, it was rumbling a bit. That's because in this part we have to walk the snowball while walking on top of it. You cannot mash a consistent rhythm. If you mash a consistent rhythm, you will just go in front of it and fall off like an idiot like this. And have to wait again. Walking on snowballs is really jank. If you mash too slowly, you barely move. If you mash a bit faster, you move really decently fast, but you run the risk of falling off. And that's all this level is. Just walking and pushing the snowball. 4-7 is where the difficulty really starts to ramp up, and mostly because of the scariest boss fight in the run. Not only is it RNG, but it's genuinely hard when you're trying to go fast. So the first few parts is just going through areas trying to not get hit. Usually you would need to roll that snowball I jumped over earlier, but luckily there's a convenient... Ow, got sniped by the lightning mage. Convenient wind spell, and if we jump from this block allows us to float over to the checkpoint and not need the snowball. So this is an auto-scroller part, which is actually difficult because of the slipperiness. I had to completely cut off myself because I was worried I was going to die. If you're really not experienced, this game tries to throw you. It looks like you need to go up, but you actually need to go down, because there's no exit when you're going up. It's kinda mean I got trolled by the game that way. Some fairly precise-ish trampoline jumps. And that's the end of the auto-scroller. And we're going to go into the shop. Drop in first, because that's going to be bother only. I bought 3 extra health and an item called midpoint, which is literally just a checkpoint. Okay, we just got super lucky. We needed that attack from the boss to get our spark spell, which is the most damaging spell in this fight you can get. And right after that, we got sort of unlucky because you can't really damage the boss while it's sparking. This is the best attack in part 1 of a boss fight, because it can deal a lot of damage. I took a bit of a stupid piece of damage, that's fine. Sometimes you just kinda have to wait it out. This boss is hell RNG. Should be able to clear the boss stage now. That's a good attack, but that's a very bad attack. Spark gets harder to avoid every single time. Sometimes the boss can jump over to a platform I was on and moves a lot more. I really didn't want to take that damage because this stage and with leftover attacks from the previous stage, are really hard. That spike was basically... Spark was basically unavoidable. I'm just damage tanking. Please give me a good attack. That's an okay attack. This is definitely a boss fight you can die on, and quite a few times. I'm happy that I got it first try. So now we're into the mansion world. Think of Mario's Boo Mansion, just with bunnies, I suppose, instead of boos. This introduces us to made enemies which cast wind spells. As if it's not annoying on its own. We do a bit of damage tanking. Guess it's faster that way. I didn't make the cycle because I was a bit slow. That's fine, there's an HP and the checkpoint right over there. It's completely fine, the reason why I hit the checkpoint first. So, there's a bit more platforming to this level, nothing much. Just avoid getting killed. The end of the level is right over here. Conveniently placed, you can almost always hold right. So this is another one of basically movement-only levels, where you have to deal with weird momentums and Tobari grabbing chandeliers when you don't want her to. Being at 1 HP is a bit monk-ass, but there's a backup HP here and the checkpoint over there. Hopefully I won't need to use the checkpoint, but I got it. That's good. If I really wanted, I could kill that enemy and get the T-spell, which you stand for a little while and it fully restores your HP. Kinda messed up my few gems and it messed up the cycle. I can damage tank because the end of the level is right over here. Don't want to fall into the deep end. 6-3 introduces darkness. Yay. And it also introduces the light spell. Thankfully the game is not that mean. Nice double jump, double bounce I suppose. If I timed this correctly, I could have jumped over the ball bunny and still made it. Thankfully there's everything I need to have is basically next to the checkpoint. So I'm never really worried about dying there. That damage is unavoidable because it's avoidable but hardly. I enable my ball for a tiny bit of time. Kill the enemies in my way. Treadmills and jumping momentum is super weird. And I hit the checkpoint. I'm in safe location now. Figured that would happen. The reason why I go for the slightly out of the way checkpoint. Okay, this was really bad. Whoops. Thankfully, deaths are not really that punishing in this game. You can try again. Since I'm at 1 HP, I have to wait for this bunny womp. The main thing about this game is you're not getting through late game levels scot-free usually, so backups, backups, backups. I should have grabbed that HP now that I look at my 1 HP. The final section of this level is to bounce on both enemies. Okay, that is silly. Bounce on both may... yeah, I have to wait. This timer is super tight, and if you don't actually make all of your jumps, you just kind of wait out. You have to wait it out, and you cannot wait for it to refresh. You cannot refresh it instantly, you need to wait for it. And as you can see, the timer in the top right ran out right after I made my jump. Just taking my backup HP. This section worked out so much better this time around. Strictly speaking, the light spell is not really ever required, but it's just so convenient to have. But you're better off having it. So this place introduced us to the axe spell. Or I guess magical axe, as Tobari puts it. I mixed up which one of those was real. Which allows us to break super tough blocks. I'll grab backup HP because I just killed myself a little bit. Yeah. Mistakes are going to happen in this game, no matter at what skill level you're playing. You just have to know the backups. Oof. To play around that, it is a bit scarier than I want it to be, so I'm playing it slow. I intentionally took bad damage over there since the good damage tanking is going to be easier. I only needed to heal once here. I'll actually grab light just in case something goes wrong. The reason we wanted thunder for this boss is because it's a real pain to kill it. When you're on the same level, it shoots wind left and right, but if you're above it, just spamming thunder, it becomes completely irrelevant. And that was the midway of Road 5. There's still 3 more levels. Another darkness one. It's kind of this road's shtick. Light here is mainly for safety. In this section at least. I'll need light later on. But I would be able to grab it later on. This here I'm just clearing the enemies. Ghosts only die when you touch them with a light spell, you cannot kill them otherwise. There's a hidden hand right over here. A fire mage, an ice mage, yep, and a lot of bad stuff. I'm hitting checkpoint because there's a decent chance I will die. Drop the thunder spell because I don't really need it. I only need the light spell. This is going to be another one of the infinite double jump skips. So since I didn't really explain it though last time, I have time now. What you do is you drop your spell, other spell, non-double jump spell, switch to the double jump, use it, pick up the spell you dropped mid-air, and you are able to use double jump again. This time I'm going to be doing that over a bottomless pit, so that's always nice, so I will shut up now. And yeah, that happens, but since I think I can make it back... I was at 1 HP, this is the reason I hit the checkpoint. Could potentially bounce on some enemies and have it that way, but... it's honestly more inconsistent that way than what I'm doing now. Thankfully, most of the spell-specific skips have the required spells near the checkpoint. This time I'm making sure I'm not losing health. And I did. That's fine. Health heart here. Once again, shutting up. Here we go. It's really hard to talk while doing that skip. So yeah, since I have to focus on a lot of inputs a lot of the time, this is the first and only time we're going to be using the stop spell, or I guess world freeze as the character insists. Oops, not intend to take bad damage. That's fine. Careful, because if you take damage, oh, the world freezes and freezes. Okay, being down to 1 HP is bad. It's kinda, as always, wait for... yikes, this is bad. Yeah, I'm just going to wait. I must time this. We buy world freeze for essentially this part. The spikes are extremely uncooperative, and you really need to go fast. You need a world freeze spell, which I have now lost. This one shouldn't really be here. Yeah, that's fine. I had to go into focus mode because I completely uncursed it. I messed it up. I usually don't. Since I had 2 HP, I just went right for it, tanking some damage. Usually you don't get the height here. I'm at 1 HP, just be aware of a Thunder Mage, and that's all. And we're heading into the last World 5 level. 5-7. Honestly, a pretty hard level, another one of those dungeon-esque levels that I mentioned, where you travel around and try to collect spells you need for later on. Well, I guess you could proceed with any spells, but the fast start requires spells. So I took Spark for damage, basically. That's why I took it, and I took Magical Arrow for being able to clear walls. And not because I want to kill those enemies, but because I want to hit an off-screen switch over here. Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's off-screen but not off-wall. I said it correctly. It also helps with this part because you can't really climb this while there's falling bunnies. You can, but it's hard. So the big problem with this level is if you die, you kind of have to restart because you really need Spark. It looks like we cannot reach that platform over there. Luckily there's a convenient wind mage to add some extra jump into our spells. Now I'm constantly switching the wind spell on and off to jump higher and fall faster. We arrive at the boss. I'm going to fill myself up with HP just in case. Really shouldn't take more than 2 damage, I'd imagine. But sometimes RNG just trolls you. This is pretty good RNG for first attack. This is not great because floating too high is bad. This spell is super annoying because it pushes you. And platforming is hard while you're being pushed. It eventually expires like this. It's so good. Like I said, this boss fight is incomparable to the World 4 boss fight. It's so much easier. And we're here at the World 6. Could have jumped that without jumping on the bunny, but it's fine. This is I hope I don't kill myself levels. going to grab an extra HP here because the levels are getting real hard right now. There's going to be a lot of these energy rings in my face real soon. You could go slower and it would be much easier, but since this is a speedrun, you generally try to go fast, just not like that. As per usual, the game is kinda nice, and has a double jump mage right over there. I don't have enough momentum. These levels may appear easy, but yeah, this is kinda bad. I'll have to casual this way through. If you break your momentum, you're getting fucked, basically. Oh boy. Can make it, but I just need to not get damaged and have enough momentum. I don't. Usually this road doesn't go as bad as it currently is. I'm on my last life, so would have to redo this level over, so I'm just going to die. This is kind of silly and is going terribly. Yeah, I totally died because I wanted to show how this level would look if you played it properly, start to finish, totally. Yeah, the floaty movement coupled with like a bullet hole of rings. It's not that great. Yeah, we'll just slow it down. And the goal was right there. I almost got it first try, but such is the hubris of trying to go too fast. Okay, not exactly how it's supposed to go. I get mashed out of my rhythm for the level, it gets really hard real fast. And as you can see, a billion projectiles fly behind me. Because this game is just like that. Okay, I'm just going over in that case. You just kinda damage tank the end of the level. It's faster to just damage tank than to actually wait and don't get hit. Okay, this is another one of those dungeon levels, but we have a new glitch a bit later on. For the first little while you have to traverse as normal. I killed that fire mage over there, just so he doesn't bother me later on. So this level has a new spell, Magical Bomb, which breaks rocks again. Not that exciting. I really needed to get to that wind mage over there. And I no longer need the magical bomb. The wind spell gives you an extra boost. And the game doesn't really expect you to get that extra boost, so you get boosted right in the wall and pushed out in the opposite direction when you're looking. Neat little strategy: when I enter this door, I'm dropping the wind spell, as the game wants to get rid of your spells by giving you 2 fire spells, thus overwriting your wind spell. But we don't want that, we want to keep our wind spell. We do literally the same trick we just did. Right around here, and you get pushed out right to the end of the level. Drop wind as soon as you're able, because you fall faster without wind. Wind breaks your fall. 3 more levels to go. And this is the most dangerous auto-scroller in the normal end. I'm not even going to talk about the extra and the extra levels auto-scrollers, because they just want to murder you. To access the extra levels, you need all the moon shards in every level. And extra levels are hard. And to access extra levels, you need all the moon shards in extra levels, of course. And the extra levels are basically Kaizo Mario Maker. The final level has a freaking picador. So I'm literally just doing the easiest part of the game. Because the extra levels are still fair, but difficult. Extra levels are no longer fair, they just want to kill you. Just in case I'm buying a midpoint, because I've been dying a bit more than I usually do, and don't want any shenanigans. There's another moon shard, you have to be quick, you have to have a magical bomb. Yeah, I'm just doing stupidly bad, and I died, because I got crushed. Oh, and I didn't buy HP again, whoops. I'll actually have to be careful, or use my backup strat. I'll use the backup strat, why not? So usually I would have bought HP for this part, because there's going to be a lot of enemies, but hey, that's a nice way to show the invincibility spell, which you would otherwise not see in this run. To avoid all of this nonsense. You still have to avoid a little bit of it, but you can damage tank it. Or die. Yeah. That end is super hard there at the end. The reason why I usually buy the HP, but I just forgot. Yeah. This game can screw you over, which is why my estimate is 1 hour 10. This run is actually going pretty terribly. It's a good showcase why I'm putting that kind of an estimate, even though my PB is 56 minutes and some seconds. Kinda focusing on avoiding this bullet hell. Or ring hell, I guess. I got hit there. I swear this is not how this level usually goes. Okay. Oops. You need to stand on a platform or bounce an enemy to clear that wall over there. Here's an HP up. Fourth time's the charm, I guess. Usually I clear this in first time. Maybe I'm focusing too much on talking during this. Yeah, now I have like all the HP I need. And carefully went to the end of the level. There's a bunch of 1-ups, yay. Mostly because this is basically the end of the normal game. So 6-5 has a pretty cool skip a bit later on, but the first part is bouncing on these trampolines, sorry about that. Right, Now, since I don't want to jump on all trampolines, I just waited at the top of the level for the broom mice and killed myself. I also have to say I really like the game's OST. It's very nice. Yeah, I'm back here again, grabbing the broom and actually not falling down this time around. Killed the wind mage, that's slightly annoying, but there's a backup wind mage after these guys. Just have to wait for the wind. Go over here. And grabbing that wind is hard. Luckily there's a backup broom right here. All yellow mice, rabbit things do that. Okay, here we go. So generally this is an auto-scroller, but using broom and wind and bouncing on enemies, we can skip the auto-scroller. It's fairly tight. And we're basically done. This is the normal auto-scroller part. Level is basically done as this weird ball and fire phase, which is kinda like, why is this here? I dropped fire just so I wouldn't need to drop it before the end of the level, and the rest of this level is holding right. And that's that. So we're going into the final level right after this. Fun part about this level is it has 6 areas modeled after all the 6 worlds in the game. This is by far the hardest non-boss fight level I've seen so far. But it also has a decent bit of checkpoints right at every part. It's like the caverns road part. I didn't expect to fall down, but that's irrelevant. Need to double jump here? Yeah. Yeah. This is the sand desert part with a lot of frickin' quicksand. Words are just leaving my mind for some reason. But taking 1 damage here is fine if I could enter the door. This is the ice road part. Luckily all these little mini levels have a bunch of health. Can refill. You're generally free to damage tank. You can in the bottom right see this levels, I guess, Moonshard. It's a bit yikes to be at 1 HP. Checkpoint is here. The reason why I have a double jump is because of this part. Just trying to safely get a backup HP. I'm struggling, even though it really isn't that hard. Not okay, I thought I could make it. That's fine. Going to have to do this section a bit slower, but yeah. So I want to have double jump for this part to avoid having to deal with these ghosts. Didn't intend to take damage there. So now I cannot damage tank these ghosts. I'm really showing how not to play Tobari in this submission video. Everything is going wrong, so I'm just playing it safe, just waiting out the ghosts. we're going into the final area prior to the boss. For the boss, we really want Magical Bomb because it deals a good amount of damage. And we really don't want to hit the checkpoint that's right over here. Because if we die, we wouldn't be able to get Magical Bomb again without doing the level over. And win despair for safety. Here's the final boss. The gameplay of this is to avoid damage and spam bombs. I know what attack generally the boss does by the voice line of the boss. Oops, I thought I could avoid that. I thought I could jump on those. Okay, this is really weird, I'll tell you that much. Okay, I'm getting an extra HP. I really have to focus because I completely misplayed the stage 2. Okay, this is a very good attack. It's fairly easy to dodge and the boss is stationary. This is a very terrible attack. It's incredibly hard to dodge. It's a good attack. It's okay to dodge, but yeah. And you eventually kill her with the bombs. And as soon as the dialogue is done here, it is time. And to get to the main screen. 1 hour 6 minutes. It's pretty terrible, but I still had some leeway to the aforementioned 1 hour and 10 estimate that I have. I would really imagine that on average, an average run is going to take 1 hour. So this is well below average. Yeah, here it is, Tobari and the Night of Curious Moon, normal end. Thank you for watching, and that's all for my submission. Goodbye.